Okay, well, if you haven't guessed it already, yes, there was indeed a setup for this trick. Even though the cards were obviously well riffle shuffled, but there is an amazing setup that just works. It's just amazing how it does work. So I'll get into that. First off, what you want to do is you want to just you can make up whatever setup you want. It doesn't really, there's no particular way. What is important though, for this effect, what you want to do, first you get your, let's say we'll set up our majority suits. And what you want to do is have a random set of values on your prediction. It doesn't matter how they are listed in sequence, just as long as, and you'll find this actually quite easy to do, just set up the values so that no pairs of cards, and just look very carefully in your sequence and how you set it up, that no pairs of cards add to anything between 1 and 10, including 10, okay? You'll find that quite easy to do. But what you want to do is leave just an option for only 2 cards to add to a number between 1 and 10. It doesn't matter what the number is. Just have one pair of cards in that sequence. So for example, with the sequence I have here, I have, what did I have for the 2 cards? I have the 4 up here and the ace at the bottom. You'll notice side by side add to 5, while all the other cards side by side add to a number higher than 10, 11 or higher. Okay, so 5 would be my setup prediction for this setup sequence. Okay, it's the same with the other sequence. Make sure it's a totally a totally different sequence for the black cards, just so it looks very random and that it's a new prediction. Again, I did the same thing, just made sure none of the pairs added up to less than 10 or 10 or less, and I just left one pair that added to 9 in this case. So you can see my 6 and 3 added together gives you 9, and the rest are all 11 and higher paired together. Okay, so that forces the setup for predicting the first prediction, the 9. The spectator will of course think that they've had free choice in finding 2 cards that were randomly, paired together that would add to a number between 1 and 10, but really they have no choice. They're only going to find the one pair that gives you the predicted sum. Okay, if that makes any sense. Now once you have the setup, the sequence figured out, you can use my sequence if you want. Whoops, why am I turning the card around? I think the camera's the other way. The sequence can be, you can use my sequence if you want, if you don't want to figure one out yourself. So I'll leave that here displayed. But what you want to do then is you want to set up the major suits, the hearts and spades. So the hearts, of course, would be, which one do I have? Okay, the red ones. I make sure the reds are set up just like how I have in my prediction, the 4, Jack, 7, Queen, 2, 10, 5, etc. all the way through. And it doesn't matter what card starts where. You can cut it a number of times. It doesn't matter as long as the sequence is exactly like the sequence you have in your prediction. So you have those for the red cards and the same for the black sequence. Okay, and then you can set those to the major. Oops, here. Let me move this in view here better. So we have the major suits set up. And we do the exact same thing for the minority suits. It's just the same thing. You have the diamonds, the red cards in their sequence, and the black cards in their sequence. Now, for the order and how you set up these suits in the deck, once they're set up in their proper sequences, what you're going to do is you can start with whatever suit you want. What you want to do actually is you want to take a set of, let's say, the minority suits, put them together. So take the 2 minority suits, sandwich them together, just like so. Red's on top, black's on the bottom. And then what you want to do is you want to alternate the major suit, the black, and put it on top of the red. Okay? Don't take the major suit red and put it on top of the red Well, actually, it doesn't really. Well, actually, no, it does matter. You have to alternate them because they won't look that mixed when you go to riffle shuffle them. You'll see a bunch of red cards all together. So it's better to alternate them. So have the major suit, the black on top, the spades, then the minor suits, diamonds, clubs, and then the other major suit on the bottom of the reds, the hearts on the bottom. Okay, so let me just run by that again here. Sorry to confuse you if I did. I have the major suits on the top and the bottom, black and red, and then alternating red and black for the minority suits in the middle. So always black, red, black, red. That's very important. And make sure that the minor suits or the major suits, it doesn't matter. You can have the major suits in the middle of the deck, just like so, with the hearts and the spades. And then you can have the clubs on top and the diamonds on the bottom. So however way you do it, it doesn't matter. Just as long as you have them set up this way so that the major suits are on the top and bottom, or the minor suits are on the top and bottom, and that the other opposite suits, the other opposite red and black suits, are in the middle of the deck, just like so, okay? So I hope I made that clear enough. Now that's the setup. Now you have to also, of course, it's very important that you remember which ones you've set up, if you have the minority suits in the middle of the deck or the minority suits on the ends of the deck. Okay, it's important that you know this because now you're not going to show the deck at the beginning of the trick because obviously it's going to look very set up. But they're going to assume that there's no setup when you let them shuffle the cards, and then they can see the cards all mixed and they'll realize that it's, there's no way that, they'll just assume that there's no way it could have been set up. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to ask first to have them choose minority suits or major suits. If they choose the minority suits, which you have, in this case, we have them set up in the middle, what you're going to do, it's very important in how they shuffle the cards. Now, I would recommend that you actually shuffle them, and I'll tell you why. Even though you could get the spectator to do it, if you know they're a good card shuffler, if you know that they can riffle shuffle cards well, then it's fine, you can have them do it. But it's most likely the case that you're going to do it yourself. And even if you do it yourself, it's no big deal. It's still going to look fantastic because they'll see that it's a very fair shuffle. Now, for the minority suits, being that they're in the middle of the deck, if they choose minority, make sure you do a cut first. Cut the deck exactly in half as best you can, complete the cut, and then do another cut in half again, and do a nice even riffle shuffle. Just a nice even riffle shuffle, just like so. And then you're going to cut the deck one more time in half, complete the cut, and then cut the deck in half again to set up for the second and final riffle shuffle. And then you're set up. They look well mixed, and believe it or not, when you deal out the cards, the clubs and diamonds, they'll be all in sequence for your prediction, ready for the trick. Now, it's just the way it works. I know it's quite bizarre. Now, as for the spades and hearts, it won't work now, obviously, from this shuffle, it won't work. For the spades and hearts, being that they were on the top and bottom of the deck, the only difference for them for the shuffle is you're simply going to skip the cut at the beginning before the shuffle. You're not going to do the initial cut. Okay? You're just going to go right into a riffle shuffle. So you have them cut the deck in half and do a riffle shuffle for whatever cards you have set up on the top and bottom. Let's say the major suits in this case. Alright, so they do a riffle shuffle, and then you have them cut the deck in half and complete the cut for the second and final riffle shuffle. So they get to do a second and final riffle shuffle. And then you can show they're all mixed and you're ready to do the major suit distribution, which will fit your prediction perfectly. So what I want to stress also too about the shuffle and why I recommend you do it is because it's very important that the riffle shuffle is done as evenly as possible. Okay? I mean, it doesn't have to be a perfect riffle shuffle, but it should be done fairly evenly. And the cards, the deck should be divided in half as best as you can. Okay? So as long as the riffle shuffle is fairly smooth and not too sloppy, this will always work. But if it gets a little too sloppy, there's a chance that you might have a few cards out of place, which still wouldn't be too bad, even if you were off a little bit in your prediction. But it would, it's not as great looking as having it perfect, of course. So I would just recommend that. So yeah, so that's how the trick basically works. I think the rest you can figure out for yourself, but I'll just go through quickly the remaining of the trick after the shuffle's been made. Let's say they've chosen the diamonds and clubs. So what you do is you would distribute the clubs and diamonds very carefully. Of course, you don't want to miss a card because that will screw up your prediction for sure. So you want to actually make sure that you do this yourself too. Don't get the spectator to divide the cards, because they're likely to make a mistake and you're more likely to be very careful. So make sure you do it yourself, and just set up the cards just like so, and once you have them set up, again, for the first prediction, remember, you want to just sort of build this up. That's why we're using this 3-phase prediction. You're just sort of building up the prediction. You start with the first one, you have them choose 2 cards that add together to a number that's between 1 and 10, or 10, you can say that, just to make it seem like there's even more, that much more open randomness to the numbers or the sums. And just again, it just gives them the sense that they are freely choosing any 2 cards that add together, that their sum will equal some random number between 1 and 10. But really, in reality, they have no idea that they're actually being forced to choose only the certain sum of the 2 cards that are set up. Okay, so once they've done that, just have them look at the 2 cards, figure out the sum, have them close the cards right away. Do the same thing for the next pack, however you want to do it. You could maybe just show the prediction right away for the first color if you want, and then move on to the blacks, do the same thing, and then show the second prediction. You could do it that way if you wanted. And then you go on remember, always before showing the next prediction, the prediction B, that you have them cut the cards at the 2 cards that they've added together, so that the card to the right ends up at the bottom and the card to the left ends up at the top. And that also sets up your sequence for the final prediction. So at first, you're setting up the next prediction for the top card being the 4, for instance, and the bottom the ace, and then it builds up for the final kicker, where you reveal all cards from top to bottom are actually in the exact sequence you've predicted. So, okay, I hope that makes sense, and thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. Talk to you later.